Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, ma'am.
Evening, ma'am.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. So today I will start with your next block. Okay, now we will see how. I have told you during my initial classes that there are many blocks which are interrelated to each other, and many things that I had taught in my first class. Some perspectives will still continue today because the same thing we will be learning today about how English got evolved. Actually, how English was first introduced, you knew how. Now you will see gradually how it evolved. Evolved means how it took its form and shape from colonial India to post-colonial India. Okay, and how its dynamics changed, how the perspectives, the reasons for which we are learning English changed. Okay, so this will be gradually learning, and we will also say that it is not possible to throw away English from when we are talking about India only, then it is not possible to throw away English in India, because not only in India but any other country. Because when nowadays, when especially in the field of technology, you see everything being exchanged mostly in our language, in English. Okay, so in the technical world also, all of us are dealing with this technology, and almost all of us are using English as a medium of expression in this technological communications, right? So it has become it has become almost impossible for us to say that no, we will not keep English in our daily life. It is not our language, we cannot say that. Okay. And one of the important reasons is technology. And suppose we are suppose chatting with each other, two friends. Suppose we are using our own language while chatting in WhatsApp, but what we do, we we use our regional language word, but the alphabets are English. Like aaj, if I say aaj, I don't write in Hindi, I write aaj. आज कल KAL, बारिश BARISH, बारिश हो रही है, like that. Our alphabets are many times English, and our expressions are Hindi. So see how English got churned up into our society, into our day-to-day life. Okay, but there are certain dynamics through which we have to understand. It does not come down to us just like that. Many things happen, and there were many periods of evolution of English in India that we must understand. And then how we teach in the class, how people understand that in our classes, that also has to be understood. Because when you are writing any answer on this aspect, how English comes in India and to our classrooms, to our homes, first thing you must mention is that ours is a multilingual country. Okay, people are from so many places. You can see, just like this particular class, you when in my introductory class, you said that you are from different states. Some from Delhi, then you said from Kolkata, and of course our people from Odisha is also there. So you can feel that how multilingual classroom we are having here. Okay, suppose if we talk about the common our Hindi language, then many of you said that yes, we understand Hindi. Okay, but yes, somebody raised the hand. Are you trying to say something? Somebody has to say something. Sabita Das, or is it by mistake that you have raised your hand? Sabita Das, I want to take class. Do you want to teach in IGNO, or what you're trying to say, Sabita? Anyway, I can't understand. This is a bit confusing. Yes, what I was saying. Huh. So, see, our class is so multilingual. And if I asked you, you can understand Hindi, most of you said that because um, the credit of so many people learning goes to maybe Bollywood. So from there, English, so Hindi is getting frequent in our homes. Otherwise, Hindi is also another matter of what you may call not a compulsion that you must learn Hindi because you have your own regional languages. Okay, so suppose there are two, three people who do not understand Hindi even. So that happens. Okay. So what becomes our common language of interaction? So of course it becomes English. Okay. Okay. Despite the fact that you are all English medium students, but still English binds all the people together when we are multilingual in one space. Our interaction becomes bit convenient if all of us know and if all of us could interact in English. So nowadays, what I'm trying to say is more than our common languages like Hindi, English has become more common. We have become more well versed with English because, maybe your medium of studies might be different, but the books that you read of international reputation, they are in English. So in this way, English has become compulsory for us to learn so that we can understand what is going on internationally, the academics, or maybe the news that you need to see or you need to watch, you need to read. So English is becoming compulsory gradually for us if we want to be abreast with whatever is happening internationally. And also it helps us a lot if our society is multilingual. Okay. uh, so um, there is another reason that we are learning English because it is a sad thing, but it still continues that English is still considered to be the language of elite. Okay, an elite class language. And whatever we say outside, but at home we would always prefer, or we would mostly, not always, we would mostly consider our students to be our children, our kids to be learning English. Why? Because we also want to add ourselves to that elite class of the society. Although now things are changing, but still to a large extent this mentality still continues. Okay. Now we are not discussing about which language anymore, which language is important, which language is less important. We are going to another dimension now. Okay, we are going to the dimension of how how we have developed an Indian English. That's what I was telling you that in my earlier classes, that
Ma'am,
gradually.
English. Ma'am,
Yes.
English.
Okay, English, but not always English, not always English with not only Hindi with English every time, but also it gets mixed up with what do you say, with our regional accent and tone. And sometimes what we do, or most of us do, suppose we have to say something to somebody in English. What we do, we think in our language. Have you done this? You think in your language, you translate that into English, and then you speak. Okay, that also we do. Have you done this or not? Did you understand what I'm saying? Suppose
Yes, ma'am.
you are a teacher. Okay. And you are teaching students and you are supposed to teach in English. Okay, so we think in our own language, in our heart. Then we translate that into English and they speak. This is also we do when we are initially learning English. Am I right, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Huh. So what happens in that case? That also becomes a part of our Indian English language, isn't it? Because we translate it, and sometimes English is wrong. Okay, that translated English becomes wrong, right? But still you speak it, and that is understood also. So what you're trying to say, when it is conveyed properly and rightly, then it's all right. Another thing you can say is Indianized through our tone, through our accent. Do we speak in British English? No. Do we speak in American English? No. We speak in our Indian English accent. This is very important. Okay. Suppose what I did days back, I thought that in my classes also I will use that accent, that British, that American accent. So I watched lots and lots of English movies in order to develop my English like them, like the Americans. Okay, but after watching so many English movies, when finally I went to class and I thought that yes, I can use that accent now. When I started speaking, my speech was again Indian English, and I was not able to develop their accent. Okay, so we live in our country, we have our own accent, we have our own way of expression. If you see English movies, you will be able to find the difference. Their accent is different, and however much we say, sometimes their accent is not understood by us. So many times we need to read those subtitles when we are watching English movies. Why? Because it's not because that we do not know English, it is because we can't get their accent. They're so different. Okay, sometimes they're too nasal. Okay, sometimes they they just twist their tongues in such a way that their accent becomes completely different and completely not understood by us. So the this is the difference, that we are not able to acquire their accent. We use Indian English accent. This is very important. Okay, and why am I not able to speak like them? Or sometimes it is different between me and people living in Bengal. Their accents are also different in English. Okay, because I teach also in a university in Bengal, just like a visiting teacher. Uh, and when I ask them to answer something, I find their English bit different from ours. Okay, because they get that Bengali tone in their English speech. Okay, so again that varies from ours. Okay, I am from Odisha. The way we speak is also different. We get our accent a bit, our Odia accent a bit when they speak people in Bengal, or you can say that I teach in a provincial Bengal. Okay, it is not a city, but it's a provincial Bengal where I teach. So their English is totally different, and luckily or unluckily, I teach them linguistics language. So, and when I ask them to speak, I find, "Arey baap re, this accent is different from ours." And, sometimes I need to ask them to repeat the sentences because I'm not able to get that Bengali accent of English. All right. So, this is what as we have broadly created our Indian English. Could you get it? And that Indian English is prominently visible through our accent. Could you get me, learners? What I'm trying to
Yes,
say?
ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Very good. So you also do. You try to develop British accent. Watch movies, British movies. Okay, you keep on watching, but still, when you speak, you will see that you have your own accent. It is difficult to acquire others' accent. Why? Because you have developed Indian English. Okay, this is very important. You should keep this in mind. And this is not your material saying, but my experience is also saying that. And I don't say that this is wrong. Our accent is wrong, and only British accent is correct. Correct? No, our accent, our pronunciation, our way of expression changes from region to region, place to place, country to country. Even if you see in Britain, if you make some research in the speaking patterns of different places of Britain, there also you find that they have different accent. If you see that those royal people speaking in English, which you can see in those web series Crown and all, those royal people are speaking actually very much refined accent they're using. But if you go to the peripheries, if you go to the suburban Britain, you will find that the dialect is different, the English dialect is different. Okay, so with the difference in dialect, their accent is also different. Okay, so it varies from region to region, and it is a very flexible thing to have the regional impact in language. Okay, so Similarly, we are miles and miles away from Britain, so there is no chance that we can speak like them unless we for years we live with them. Then that is different thing. But when we are miles and miles away, when we have our own culture, when we have our own language, so when we are talking in their language, our accent will vary because we will have the influence of our mother tongue. That is what is mother tongue influence. Okay, in linguistics. All right. So let me move ahead, and actually we are going to deal now with a lot of technical things related to classroom. Okay, in Indian English teaching. All right. So what we do when our society is multilingual, when a classroom is multilingual, okay, sometimes the scenario is very confusing. Sometimes with also this happens that sometimes the method of teaching and understanding also becomes complicated in a multilingual classroom. Okay, so in these cases our domestic language, our native language will vary, because if you are in Delhi, then you must be speaking in Hindi or Urdu. Okay, if you are in Bengal, if anyone from this class is from Bengal, then your native language is Bengali. My native language is Oriya. So it is so different. It is not the same at all. Okay, but our language of profession is one. Okay, just try to understand this. Language of our native language is different, may be different, but our language of profession is one. Okay, and that is English, because I teach in English, you understand in English, because we are English honors people, English students of English language and literature. But other things again vary. Our mode of entertainment may vary. When you're dealing people at the market, that also may vary. Suppose I love watching, as I told you, I love watching suppose English movies, but you may love watching in movies or serials in your native language. Someone else loves Bollywood movies. So see, our method of entertainment is also different. The language we use in our entertainment may vary, right? Then the way we deal with people in the market will vary. Suppose I use Oriya, somebody else uses Hindi, somebody else uses a little bit mixed of English and native language in the market. So it is so varied. Okay, it is broadly varied. But when our profession comes, then it becomes little homogenized. Okay, but not in a very strict sense, because people from other stream, they may speak in different language. Hindi people will speak in Hindi in their classes. Oriya honors, they will speak in Oriya in their classes. Okay, so it is very varied, it is very different. So here what we have to do is, the most important thing, or important development of our language comes from school. Okay, home is all right, but because the language we learn, first of all, the language that we learn is from our house only. Okay, and see, our house teaches us proper proper language, using proper vocabulary. We speak fluently in our native language, but have you ever thought that grammatically this is right, this is wrong, this is how I should speak? No, we are subconsciously speaking in perfect grammar, perfect vocabulary. Okay, in our native language without any formal education. So this is the role of our mother tongue, the tongue which we first learned at home. So that is very spontaneous. Okay, but later when you go to school, when you acquire other languages, there you have to learn methods, there you have to learn techniques. Okay, so after home, it is the responsibility of school education. Okay, so when a child goes to school, he has to learn two, three more languages. Okay, so what does this mean? It means that learning of two, three languages, which may include English in the school, okay, it may occur as the second language or third language. Okay, that a student has to learn. And you can see that whatever is the medium of teaching in different schools, English is compulsory. From certain standards to certain standards in the class, it is compulsory, you have to study. Okay, so another thing you see, like in India, um, a child is not only exposed to different languages, but a child is exposed to variety of traditions also, variety of culture. Suppose we go to school as a small child, we see so many other students with us. Okay, and suppose their mother tongue is also different. Suppose a child goes to, take for example, to Dehradun school, to Doon school. So at Doon school, students come from all over the world. Okay, so not all over the world, all over India. So a child is exposed to not only different languages spoken by different students, but also he sees the difference in culture also. A child from south behaves differently than from a child from the north. Okay, then a Bengali child behaves a little differently, culturally, than the child from the western part of India. Eating habits, okay, talking habits, some behavioral patterns to some extent also vary from place to place. So it is such a, what do you say, such a mess of cultures that a child is facing. Okay, so these are the difficulties, particularly in India, that we are facing due to such rich diversity. Okay, but students, this is an unfortunate thing that we are so diverse. We are so different from each other culturally, location wise, geographically, traditionally, but we have not been able to take advantage of this culture in our education. Okay, diversity of culture. We are very much till now, very much under influence of English. Okay, we have never tried to take advantage of so many different cultures, and we are only running over English, and that is why slowly you see our new education policies which are coming up. They are trying to uh, give emphasis on these different studies based on different cultures. Slowly we are going to that, but still we are too slow. So after so many years of independence, we still have not developed how to take advantage of different cultures in our learning. We have to go still long way. Okay, but still now you can see that how we are getting accustomed with different culture is through translation. Okay, translation is becoming one of the most important tools of learning different cultures. Okay, in academia particularly. Suppose yeah, I had been to one conference very recently in our Utkal University. There, one expert had come who was talking about the importance of translation. So he said that translation doesn't always mean that you are translating, suppose, an Odia work into English or English into Odia. Okay, we are doing more this for the market actually. We are translating much of the Odia work into English so that more and more people will read globally. They will know our culture. That is all right. But also we can translate in our different languages. Suppose English, suppose our Odia writing can be, suppose our Paraja. Gopinath Manti's Paraja novel can be translated into, suppose, Malayalam, and let them read our culture. Okay, then a Gujarati novel. Gujarat is also a rich, land of literature. Suppose a Gujarati novel can be translated into Odia, so that we can have an exchange within country of languages, of cultures, of heritage in our own language. Okay, so in this Indianization of language or English also, you can see translation is playing a very eminent role. Okay, in a multilingual culture in India. So through those conferences, those experts are creating a sensitization. They're making a sensitization to to translate into our own vernaculars from different Indian vernaculars. That is also important. And this is how we can take advantage of our diversity. We can learn, we can exchange through the work of translation mainly. Okay. So all the climatic aspects, all the moral values, social ethos, the flora and fauna of those places. Suppose the person in Arunachal is writing, and an Oriya person is who is very well versed with Arunachali language. When he translates those books into Oriya, we can know what kind of flora and flora do they have, what kind of human relationships do they believe in. Okay, how do they pay emphasis on child development uh, things. Okay, so this kind of translation will be totally and typically Indian. However, we are not doing that. We are simply into English. Okay, and we cannot completely reject that English should not be done. No, not that it should be done, but little of our regional languages also should be given due importance in the transmission of different cultures. Okay, so you can see that this is still not happening, though there are those experts like I saw in Utkal University, they are trying to sensitize, they are trying to make people work. Still, we need a lot more work to do. Okay, and you can see that there are many people, students also, our students also, if you are teachers, you see that our students are learning day in and day out. They are learning English, they are trying to grasp English. Still they see that they are not well equipped with English. Okay, they have to do a lot of thing to master over English, and in the process of learning English they get frustrated, they are irritated. Okay, so in this context you can say that the future of English in India, it depends on properly re-establishing English in multilingual context. Okay, you have to re-establish, you have to make a revisionistic study of English in order to reintroduce English in the multilingual context of India, which means that if a child is learning English, he should learn functional knowledge of the language. Okay, he should know the functionality of English language through linguistic competence. Okay, so he has to read English text. So by reading English text, I don't mean only British text, but any text written in English. Okay, so he has to be, a child has to be functionally made aware, he has to be taught functionally. Okay, by teaching him a lot of linguistic patterns of English. Okay, which could be done not just by reading only British English, but any English. Okay, so any language teaching project could be introduced to the student. Okay, some kind of ELT also could include in the students development of English. Okay, and exercises should be given to the child in order to enhance his linguistic and both communicative proficiency. All right, so and a teacher also should tolerate, teacher should become a little tolerant when the child, when the learner goes astray with the learning patterns, because acquisition of a foreign language is not easy. Okay, it's a very difficult difficult journey, you can say. Okay, when today we can speak very fluently in English means that we have passed years in learning, in turmoil. Sometimes we failed, sometimes we felt stuck with the language. Okay, and after a rigorous training, after rigorous studies, now we are capable of speaking it. So that doesn't mean that it's very easy to just master over it, to speak good and substantial English. So sometimes for our students who speak in different native languages, sometimes it is very difficult for them to acquire proficiency in English, both linguistic and communicative. So they need to be properly trained, and teacher has to tolerate about the amount of time the student may take while learning. Okay. Now, gradually, as we are getting more experimental with this part of ELT, English language teaching, last year I also got myself trained in IFLU, Hyderabad. I had been to Hyderabad, and I also learned many technicalities of ELT, typical in Indian domain. So we can see from this training, after making so many experiments on English language teaching and English language development, it is, slowly becoming clear that uh, emphasis on English that we are giving, it is not only obstructing our development, but also sometimes it is developing some kind of unhealthy stereotype among learners. Okay, about their own languages, which means that these students, when we are too much stressing them to learn English. Suppose I ask my children at home, no, you don't speak your mother tongue, you speak in English. So this is negative with regard to the learning of their own mother tongue. What am I doing here? I'm harming my child. Okay, harming my child to make him understand the importance of his native language. Okay, the language through which he should think, the language through he should mainly express. Okay, so I'm hampering, I'm creating a negativity in my child about our mother tongue. Instead of our mother tongue, when I'm forcing my child to speak in English, it is destroying our own culture, it is destroying our own um, importance of our own language. Okay, so this has to be stopped. Though, even though we think that English is important, English should be read, but that should be read as a course. Okay, not as a language spoken at home. That is not, if that is not the mother tongue, then mother tongue should be introduced. It should be respected in families. If I ask my children to speak in English and stop speaking in mother tongue, then what am I doing? I'm disrespecting my mother tongue, and I'm giving importance.
Madam, good
Okay.
evening.
Yes, hello.
Madam, good evening.
Yes, good evening.
May I know which topic now you are teaching?
Yes, I'm teaching now the evolution of English in India.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. So where I was? Yes. So
Ma'am, that we have to speak on our native language and not in English.
yeah, yes. So, no, in that way, I'm harming my native language and I'm giving overdue importance to some other language. Okay, so these are some of the flaws, some mistakes that we commit. Okay, but suppose when I am teaching my kid, suppose I'm sitting and I'm teaching him, then I can ask him, take out English book, I will teach you English. So teaching English is different, and speaking every time and overlooking our mother tongue is different, it is not correct. Okay, so in that way negativity comes towards our own language. Now child will think that no, that language is inferior, this language is superior, so we need to speak here. So this is very bad as far as our mother tongue is concerned. So you can see, students, though we are
That is
talking
a
about,
FLN.
yes,
That
yes,
is a FLN is introduced nowadays.
what they have introduced,
FLN, first language and
FLM,
number.
first
First
language, yes.
language and number. It is
Okay.
government introduced this FLN system because of mother tongue is the most important tool for the expressing and understanding by a
Yes,
child.
absolutely right. Absolutely. And in that way, Maitri, don't you think that we are trying to, develop our culture also? Because every time what we Indians do, we put our culture back. Okay, our culture back, and we try to promote others. So that is wrong, isn't it?
Ma'am,
Am
in
I
our
right,
school,
Maitri?
even in our school, at recess time also, we have to speak in English. Otherwise, we have to pay heavy fine.
Okay, I don't say that
Now,
that will
CBSE also adopt FLN. CBSE,
okay.
5 months or 6 months before, a news comes that CBSE schools are uh, till fifth class. They should adopt mother tongue compulsory.
Okay.
Regional
But what
language is
will happen?
compulsory.
But what will happen, Maitri, if suppose the people in the class are multilingual, then
Multilingual, every school adopt multilingual, madam. uh, Not a single school, except vernacular schools. All schools
huh,
adopt multilingual, Hindi, Sanskrit, English,
okay,
regional. So regional language should be give priority
okay,
according to
okay.
CBSE experiments.
No,
um,
okay, okay. But
a recent research.
okay.
Then
Okay, but what promise? I'm forgetting your name. I'll call this promise only. But what she said is, I think this method is not completely wrong. Maybe not the whole time students should speak English, but sometimes. Suppose English class, only English. Then in Oriya class, Hindi class, other class, you can mix your language. So in that way, sometimes what happens
my
when
my
students.
nephew my
Yes.
nephew is 5 years old only.
Okay.
Now he says in a mixture of three languages:
Ah, they mix up
Odia,
languages.
English, and Hindi. Odia, English,
Ah,
and Hindi. He can't
ah,
speak in single language.
mm.
Always
But
baffled with this.
that is also a bit problematic because you speak in so many languages, but you can expertise in none. That also becomes problematic. So this should be done. Maybe this is what I can suggest. When you're teaching Odia, Odia should be pure, good Odia, no mixing up. English, then only mixing. No English, no mixing up. So in that way, child will be able to grasp all the basics of that particular language. Okay. And what I was saying, what Promise said, that every time they ask, they insist students to speak English. Actually, this is the British form. Okay, that Macaulay also laid emphasis that medium of teaching should be English. Okay, at that time, many schools were also forcing British people, British schools were forcing to study, to speak in English so that they learn that language, their language, the colonial language. Okay, and same pattern we are also, blindly we are following that. But we can do one thing in these schools, that maybe if we have English school class or English language class, speak only in English. Other classes you can, suppose Hindi, only Hindi, Odia, you can speak only Odia. So in this way, the child will not only learn communicative. I understand why these schools are forcing English language, because for many students, communicative remains little weak. They are not able to communicative. I mean, spoken English remains little weak. Okay. So in order to develop that, mostly speaking is emphasized, but that doesn't mean that every time you'll speak that. No, certain time limit should be made for the students to speak, so that spoken English also would develop. And most important thing for these students is reading. If you read more, you can simultaneously improve your spoken. Unlike, and so what I am saying is at home, okay, not in the schools. At home, you should be given importance of your mother tongue. Otherwise, how will the child understand his mother tongue? Anyway, let me move ahead. Yes. So when we are talking about ELT, English language teaching, now we are coming up with so many new methods of teaching English. Okay, and very, very successful way of teaching. So while we are talking about development of communicative English. First of all, when we are introducing courses to students, we should kind of make some experiment. We should monitor them properly. Okay, we will see how students are responding to whatever uh, uh, activities or approaches we are giving. How, what is their physical response? Okay, how the syllabus we have to observe. syllabus that we are experimenting on, how it is properly task based, and how can it improve their language skills. We have to study that very carefully as teachers also. Otherwise, that kind of learning that you want to give your student will completely fail. You have to observe. You just cannot give them and go to sleep. You have to observe, you have to make study, you have to make your notes and preparation, because this ELT thing is very, very careful you have to be when you're dealing with it. Okay. So gradually what has come, there are many more theories have come, no doubt, which help us to teach in proper direction, like we'll be doing now. We will be talking about post-colonial, the language spoken during post-colonial time, then nativism, how English took a native form, how English is accepted and responded by diasporic writing. We will see how English literature is disseminated in India. That also we will see, and we will see how English still remains. Do we want or we do not want, English still become still remains powerful. Okay, and English still remains as a medium of knowledge that exists in learning, okay, in teaching in English in India as well. Okay, now though we have to a large extent nativized English. Nativized means we have grasped English from our native point of view in India. Okay, and we are no more much dependent upon their structure in English language. Okay, that was supposed, so the idea of Macaulay gave us structures for us. In that structural method, we have to learn, but we have discarded all those Macaulay's plans. Okay, we have incorporated many changes. Okay, in those old system mainly introduced by Macaulay. Okay, but what remains still static is English still remains synonymous with prestige and social power. However hard we are trying, but still we are not able to overcome the importance of English. So now what I will do is that English is there in India. English is developing, flourishing, no doubt, but we will see how. I was telling you how in India we have developed Indian English, that I'll tell you. Okay, and this process mainly took shape and form in post-independent era. Okay, we will see how we, as natives, have accepted English. Okay, we will try to see that. All right. So you can see that again and again I'm repeating, and it is very important for us contextually to think that that English is mainly the language of the elite, not now, but from the colonial times. Okay, I told you while
Yes,
teaching
ma'am.
that when British came, they tried to show that their language is sophisticated, their lifestyle is sophisticated, their culture is sophisticated. So that psychology has actually stuck in our mind, and we always consider English as the elite language. Okay, so this has been written ever since the colonial period. Okay, so you can see that so many, we have already discussed all these things, that our politicians, our thinkers, Mahatma Gandhi, even Nehru, they tried a lot to create the very own language of India, but all of them to some extent they fail. Okay, because Indian languages were not able to compete with those highly structured and sophisticated English language. They were in no way no way they could do competition with English language. Okay, so English language still remains the language of the elite because we could not compete with English language. Okay, so it remains the language of elite. It suggests prestige, it suggests power. Okay, and you can never forget that the way we inherited English from those colonial master. Okay, it is not that English that we are spreading today. Okay, the English that we inherited from them during colonial time, it is absolutely not the English that we are dealing with today. we have developed our own English. Okay, and this was realized very soon after independence, that English has to be reformulated. We saw all these leaders, all these philosophers, thinkers, they said that English has to be replaced. But finally, what we saw, that we cannot replace, but we can reformulate. We can make a reshape of this English according to our need. Okay, according to the need of Indian people. Okay, and we have to develop our own structure, our own idioms that would satisfy our emotions and feelings. See, learners, we need to connect also with that language. If you're not able to connect with that language, you won't be able to understand, you won't be able to express, you won't be able to deal with that. Okay, so we need to connect with that language. So, in order to connect with that language, you need to develop certain words that could feed your emotions, that which could feed your feelings. Okay, so we developed with time our own idioms, we developed our own words of expressions through which we can connect our feelings and emotions, and we did that. Okay, so in Kanthapura, if you read Kanthapura, Raja Rao's Kanthapura, okay, you will be able to find this connection of or making a connection with English by developing our words, by developing our idioms that could convey our feelings. Kanthapura, in Kanthapura, Raja Rao says, he talks about this confusion. See, I'm reading out. One has to convey in a language that is not one's own the spirit that is one's own. One has to convey the various shades and omissions of a certain thought, movement that looks maltreated in an alien language. Okay, means sometimes our thoughts, our feelings is not properly understood by alien language. I use the word alien, yet English is not really an alien language to us. Rajarao is saying that I'm saying alien, but English is not alien to us anymore. It is the language of our intellectual makeup. Understand this. It is the language of our intellectual makeup, like Sanskrit or Persian was before, but not of our emotional makeup. We cannot write the English. We should not. Okay, we should not write which the English means British English. We should not write British English. We cannot write only as Indians. We have grown to look at the large world as a part of us. So he says that no, we should not write in that alien language. It is not exactly alien, because when Persian came to India, when Sanskrit was introduced in India, Sanskrit is a language of mainly Aryans. Okay, so slowly we grasped it and made it our own. Similarly, slowly we will grasp English language, and that we will try to make it our own, and that English language will become Indian English language. From here, we started to think that we have to Indianize English. We have to capture it. Okay, they did lot of captivation. Now we have to capture the language. We have to make it our own. We have to Indianize it. Okay, make it our own so that we can also express our feelings. We can express intellectuality, but we are not able to express feelings. So we need to develop certain what do you say, expressions which will be Indian in its feeling. Okay, and that we did. If you see, if you read R.K. Narayan, you will see how English has been Indianized when he gives us beautiful portrayals of Indian villages. Okay, so when Raja Rao said this, then the thinkers again started thinking that yes, we have to redefine English. Okay, and now Indian thinkers after independence they thought that this particular Indianization should be prioritized as far as education is concerned. Okay, so we had so many different languages, but this language should be formed in such a way in our education system that students will not only learn the technicalities, but students will be able to connect their feelings and emotions. Okay, so uh, here you cannot deny the fact that English education in particularly post-colonial India, it is a continuation of colonial experience. Okay, it is still continuing. Okay, and Raja Rao is saying, writers like Raja Rao are saying that you have to Indianize it. Okay, but it was not yet Indianized. It was not yet nativized. Nativized. In post-colonial India also, we were still continuing with the forms and structures of colonial colonial teaching and learning of English. But Raja Rao gave us a call that we have to nativize it through his expression in Kantapura. Okay, but you can see that English is still there in we are still experimenting in our universities, in our in our language learning classrooms. We are still doing experiments how to make it a native. But this nativization process of nativization started back from immediately after independence. Okay. Okay, so now gradually what happened? And the whole commissions were formed, and it was said that English will still remain as a part of medium of instruction in schools and colleges and universities, but through writings, through expressions, mainly through literature, this nativization happened. Okay, we were now able to express our native culture in English language. Sometimes we molded, some structures were changed by our writers, by our creative people, and slowly, gradually, you can see the nativization of English did happen. Okay, now what about the classes? What about our English classes? What we are doing here? What kind of Indian English we are giving, and what should we focus at? That also became important. Okay, so it is very obvious that a modern India should learn a bit of English, and it is our responsibility to teach our English in a proper way. We need to teach them. We need to make them very clear with the objectives of teaching English in our classroom. They should be very clear why they are learning English. Okay, now you can see that mainly our if you are English teachers, then you can understand that our English classrooms are very broad in India. We have too many students. Okay, and it is just like an industry in which we are working in as English teachers. Okay, because I don't think any other subject has so many students like we have, because we have so many bits and parts of English teaching. You take ELT, you take literature, you take linguistic classes, you take foreign language learning classes. So broad it is that we English teachers, I feel sometimes that we are working in a big industry. Okay, so what we are doing is that our goals and objectives are fragmented. Okay, I'm teaching something with certain goal aim in my mind. Okay, other teachers, they're teaching English in some taking some other goals in their mind. So it has become very varied also. Okay, and students have to opt what they want, which bit and which part of English learning do they want for their career, okay, for their learning. So that will depend on the teachers, but we are trying to make English as easy as possible in all these different segments, so that the students grasp it and it becomes helpful to develop their career. This is what is the basic current trend in English teaching in our classrooms. Okay, Now, what did Macaulay think? Why did he want to introduce English in India? Mainly because he said that we are barbarians, we are uncultured people. Um, so, if we learn English, then we will learn culture from English literature, English lifestyle. He thought, okay, this was there in his mind. This is what he thought, and he thought that if we want to develop or shape our character, then we must need to learn Hindi. Sorry, English. Okay, but now what is it? We have completely discarded what he said. We do not accept that anymore. What we think now, as teachers also, we think that uh, English is for the development of our career, isn't it? English is the language of opportunity. So we should teach our students this language so that they can grasp best opportunities from outside world, from outside communities. Okay. For whatever it is available for them in their professional and economical growth, that we must teach our students. But that was initially not the point with Macaulay. Macaulay said we are all jungly people, so we will get civilized by that. So see how English has evolved from that thought till today. And we cannot deny also completely what Macaulay had thought, because to a large extent we have learned so many things from English language and literature. We have learned proper structure. We were actually to some extent intellectually barbarians. Okay, we did not have that system. Okay, we were spiritual. All right, we were not materialistic. Okay, but the way they analyze, the way they think, okay, completely rationally, that was important for us to learn. We have done that. Okay, and we do not deny, we acknowledge that. Okay, but he was too prejudiced, he was too much prejudiced. So we have moved now away from those prejudices. We have come to the reality. And if you are teachers, then please mark it that in whatever standard you are teaching, remember to give that English to your student which will help him in his profession, in his life. He will develop, he will be better, he will take advantage of the learning that you are giving, so that he becomes more career oriented. He learns how to extract benefit out of English in his professional development. That you have to be very conscious if you are a teacher. Okay. Now you're understanding, learners, what I'm trying to say. Are there teachers in this class? Are they in
Yes, ma'am.
service? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, then so these things you have to be very, very careful with when you're teaching English. Okay. Now, uh, we can always, we can, very confidently say that that we are learning English, and English is a very informative language. We get lots of information through the English language. Okay, it from around the world we get knowledge. And now when technology has developed, then you can see that English is one of the best branches of knowledge. Okay. And also it through proper reading of English, you can see that you understand you understand the power of suppose social environment, the importance of our social environment, our community. So things which we couldn't have realized if English would have come to India. So, so many things we have come to think of just because of the introduction of this new language. So, you just cannot blindly discard Macaulay's thoughts. To some extent, he is acceptable, and we acknowledge for bringing this whole policy in India. Okay, so but you cannot say that it is the language in the present context. You cannot say that it is a westernized language, but of course it is a modernization. It is a language that gives modernization. It doesn't give westernization, it gives modernization. Just try to understand the difference. Westernization talks about the culture. Okay, it means that suppose eating food or dressing. Suppose I teach English, that means I will eat only their food, what they eat, all those bread and burger and all those things, or whatever is the Western food, I will eat that. It doesn't mean that. Suppose I'm teaching English, doesn't mean that I will dress like them, those jeans and frocks. And no, it doesn't mean that. Okay, it means that I am learning modernization through them. Means modernization is a thought, thinking. Okay, how I have to think in a matured way, in a proper way, and towards the development of my nation. Okay, so modernization should not be confused with westernization. We should not accept all those blind westernization, but we can embrace modernization through English. Okay, so you can see that if you see nowadays, a lot of agricultural universities are also cropping up. So you see that in those agricultural universities also, the books that gives them information is basically English. Okay, so students of English in India, they have also realized that English is necessary. Okay, necessary for their learning. And suppose if they have to talk about their identity, okay, then their language, their literature, their science and technology, their society and economy, everything, their culture, when they want to talk about their culture, then if they are able to express in English properly, then they will be able to spread their culture and learning properly. Okay, so we have to we need to learn English in order to interpret our culture to the world in a better way. Okay, suppose when we want to talk about our old languages, okay, or suppose we want to talk about our beliefs like sanskar or the theory of karma, when we want to express it to the international world, to the outer world, then we have to learn proper words so that we express all those high thoughts, high philosophies in proper and exact language usage. Okay, so that we do not misinterpret. So in that way we will be able to spread our culture, our tradition in a better way, because nowadays English is understood globally. Any person can understand English, if not completely, then partially. Okay, so everyone understands, and if you want really to spread your culture, your heritage, your thoughts, your typical Hindu belief system, if you want to express, then you have to master this language English, so that you convey it to the world without misinterpreting. Are you getting my point?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So also not that, but suppose we as teachers or scholars or intellectuals, we need to translate also more and more. There are certain things which they are only there in Sanskrit. Okay, or they are there in our local languages. So how will the world know that we have got such rich bulk of literature unless we translate it? So more and more of translation work also should be done. So listen, we people of English literature, we are privileged, because apart from English we are well versed in other our native language also. So for us translation is easier than the people who are the scholars of vernacular languages. Suppose person from Odia literature, for that person of Odia literature, it will be more difficult to translate into English. Okay, because for that, basically, usually, I'm not talking in general, particularly for some people, they might be very good in Odia, but for them, translation will be a little bit difficult because the English is a little, what do you say, little difficult for them to write. But for us, when we have mastered English and we are already masters of our native language, so for us, translation is easier. Okay, so we should do more and more translation. We should spread more and more knowledge about our tradition, of our culture, of how our literature is represented, that we can spread easily through translation work. Okay. Now, when we go to this ELT, English language teaching, then what has happened actually in ELT materials? Now things are changing. I don't say that they are still there. In those ELT materials, there was a kind of air in English, the usage of English language. Okay, means English language was something very, very English, not Indian at that time. Okay, so uh, in those days, long back, I'm talking about when ELT was introduced in India. Um, those uh, books of English poets, playwrights, short story writer were prepared to introduce Indian learners. Try to understand this. Suppose, um, simple example I'm telling you. Suppose to our very low grade students, in lower classes, 2, 3 classes, suppose, when we ask them to by heart daffodils. Now, will they be able to connect? No, because they don't know what are daffodils. Okay, those the small flowers, they do not know. So they won't be able to connect it properly. So in those days, long back, when ELT was prepared, materials were prepared, they were too British. Those people who prepared those materials, they suppose introduced a play on Shakespeare or Milton or Wordsworth, as I told you. So all these typical British writers were introduced. So this was very difficult for students to connect. Small child learning daffodil, what help will be of him? He is not able to understand what are daffodils, how do they look like, because he has never seen. So instead of that, highly British things, if certain Indianized literature, if it would have been introduced to him, then his learning would have become more effective. So that was initially a little flaw that we created while teaching students, because we completely expected them to understand the British culture and British setting. But slowly now things are changing. Okay, now we are focusing more on Indian writers. In those days, we cannot deny the fact that Indian writers were very few, very handful. So from where will they get material? So they extracted material from British Library. Okay, but now gradually when we see many writers have come, like Sudha Murthy writing so much for children literature. Then for campus literature, we see many writers have come. So nowadays we can help students connect, but initially it was difficult, and learning also was little difficult for the students of that time. Okay, just hold on, students, for 2 minutes. Okay, so yes, so gradually we understood, and then the whole process of Indianization, or you may say that nativization, started when students were introduced with certain part of literature which they were able to connect. Okay, and translation also started in 19th century, 20th century particularly, very broadly. So it became little easier and easier for students to learn. So this was all the contribution of ELT. Okay, so most of the second language material across the world, they were bilingual. Okay, students were also taught initially, not now, in English, and then that was translated into the local language so that the child will understand. But gradually, what happened? English was taught only as English without translating in the class. Okay, if the child is not able to understand certain thing, then the picture was shown. Suppose daffodils, now it became very difficult to teach, to make students understand what are daffodils. So picture was presented. See, these are the flowers. Okay, and they are known as daffodils. They are usually grown in Europe. So the whole thing was defined to them. So gradually techniques and methods were developed in order to make students understand. Okay. So translation later took a back seat in the class. Class nowadays they don't, especially ELT teachers, they don't prefer translation. Teaching English through translation, they say that English should be taught as it is. Okay, you can use some techniques, you can use graphs, you can use pictures, but English should be taught only in English language. Okay. Now, how teaching of English got different, what do you say, different paths. Okay. Now, after independence, uh, language teaching in India, it was divided after post independence. Okay. Means, in one hand, you will say English medium schools flourished. Okay. English medium schools are also called public schools. They flourished, but mainly they were in urban areas. Okay, in cities, in towns. Okay, English medium schools started cropping up, and usually who live in cities, elite class society. So elite class people, they started sending their students to their kids to these English medium schools. Okay, now these students of English schools, they became very fluent in English. Okay, but on the other hand, you see vernacular schools, schools of native language, using native languages. Okay. Now, as I said, English was taught, but it was not a medium of instruction. It was just one subject. Okay. So, students were getting minimum facility out of English language and literature in these vernacular schools. Okay. But in this English medium school, the basic aim of those schools was to teach students how to speak, how to write, how to read, okay, how to listen to English properly. They were taught. All the comprehension, grammar skills were taught very properly. So these city bred children, they grasped English prolifically. Okay. And again that divided our Indian class. Okay. So the rich, elite, city dwellers, fluent in English, again that colonial system was re-established. Okay. Whereas uh, rural India, simple, okay, naive, so they were not so fluent in English, so they were held back, and that still continues till now. When till now in these local schools, in vernacular schools, till standard 5, English is not introduced. From standard 5, they are introduced English. So it becomes little late for them to learn. and that is why they are a little bit held back. But still, I can say that nowadays vernacular schools are developing. Much emphasis is given for the all-round development, and now children coming from those vernacular schools, they are doing quite well in English. Okay, whereas to some extent these public schools are deteriorating in their qualities. Anyway, so this is how classroom is divided.
Excuse me, ma'am. Excuse me.
Yes,
How many processes are there? Two processes, na?
yes, not process,
First,
the division. The division.
uh, first one is English medium school.
Yes. Second is
Second one is English cannot be can be taught as a subject. No
hmm,
need as a
yes,
medium of English, na?
absolutely right. You are.
Okay, okay. Thank
And
you.
the second method is taught by vernacular schools. Okay, usually run by government. Okay, understood. Kanan, am I clear?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So this is how our our society got divided. So again, government cannot stand still, looking, watching, and this. So government is also taking initiatives. Initiative, it is trying to make a fine balance. It is introducing policy for development of language skills, no doubt. Again, government is trying to always introduce policies and sensitize people about local language also. Okay, so this is the very active role that the government is playing, and things are slowly coming into balance. So English schools are also learning that vernacular language is important. Okay, so they cannot disrespect their own language and go on teaching English. So you can see fine balance is again getting maintained in our society. Okay, now um, moving ahead. So, the learners, do you agree that English is going to keep its position, or the position of English is going to fall in time? What do you say?
Ma'am, it will keep its position because major science and technology, I mean medicine and technology is based on English.
Okay, okay, very good. It will stay because technologies will stay, or rather they will develop more. So we will have to take more help from English language. You are absolutely right. But at the same time, you see that we are becoming now sensitive towards preservation of our language also through government policies. Okay, so we can predict that English will remain. Okay, so as I told you that English will remain, but English also has now got branches, as I was telling you, different branches like pure literature, interdisciplinary studies of English. Okay, now if you see earlier, when I was a student, English literature was pure English literature, like British literature. We were studying from just some singular point of view, but now English has literature in fact has gone into social sciences. Means again there are divisions of literature. Okay, you do not say it is pure literature. Now it has become social sciences and humanities. Okay, so it has become multidisciplinary. Okay, and apart from that, if you talk about language also, you can see so many branches: linguistics, phonetics, spoken English, ELT, so many branches are there, isn't it? So you can see that gradually, as we are moving ahead with the future of English in India, we see that more and more branches are coming. Suppose corporate sectors, take for example corporate sectors. Okay, Now, those people at corporate sectors, they also need to speak in trendy, stylish, and very updated English. Okay, so they are also being trained by us. Teachers like us, we people from English languages and literature, we go to their boardrooms and we teach them literature. We teach usually, what we teach in the boardroom is called Shakespearean English. It means that we teach them trendy English, how to interact, how to communicate in proper style and form. That is being taught by us only. So again, you see how broad is our profession and how it is expanding. Okay, so we cannot say that the scope of English learning is very less. We won't get job. No, if you are a proper student of English, you will be grasped by private as well as public sectors. Okay, they are very much needed in our country.
But ma'am,
So
in corporate sectors, most people are speaking the American English. They are not speaking the actual pure English.
no, 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 no. I cannot accept the fact. See, American English is very informal and they use a lot of slang, but proper boardroom English is very formal. Okay, very formal, updated, no doubt. Now, updated doesn't mean that American or that slang, not that. Updated and proper usage of vocabulary is used in the formal location. You cannot use American English in formal situations. Okay, so that is being taught
But I
by
have
the
a question, ma'am. Nowadays, before we were writing the color of spelling COLOUR, but now it is also acceptable that COLOR can be written. So,
yes. Then do you mean that um, corporate sectors we are teaching them spellings? Not that.
no, no,
See,
ma'am. No.
COLOR has been popularized by computer. Okay, especially by Windows. And these are all American English because these technical people mainly hail from US. Okay, and they are not British. They are Americans. These people who are sitting on the desk and introducing these Windows and different fonts and different language systems, they are usually Americans. So that is why many spelling you will say, not only color, that they are American language, American
Yeah,
spelling.
ma'am. That was only an example given by me, color. And ma'am, pronunciation of some words are also words and letters are also they have changed. Like before, we were telling Z Z, but now students are taught in school. This could be pronounced as Z. They are
Which
telling, yeah.
which pronunciation? Which word?
Z. But nowadays,
Okay.
teachers are telling the students that you should pronounce it as Z, not
No, no, no.
Z.
That is, you're confusing. That is actually phonetics. In phonetics, no, we don't teach A, B, C, D. Phonetical pronunciations are different, and sometimes in lower classes, they don't say A, B, C, D, B, S, D.
Yeah, yeah, ma'am. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that is
yeah.
phonetics. Okay, that is not any other language. That is also British Standard Language, International Phonetic Language. That is IPL. Okay, that is the pronunciation. Okay.
Okay.
Mm. That is that is the pronunciation that we teach students. And if you go specifically to those courses in IFLU in Hyderabad, they teach you all those things, how to pronounce. Like suppose E has got EF,
Yeah.
that E word, that has got very types of phonetical expressions. That they teach that. Okay, in those E-flu classes. So those things are different. They are related to pronunciation, and that pronunciation is called IPL, International Phonetic IPL, no, IPA, sorry, IPA, International Phonetic Alphabets. Okay, so that is for spoken, to develop your pronunciation, but that is British. But so you pointed out that American English is also used. That cannot be totally denied, because through these movies and serials and even our technology, computer, American English is getting in. but still we Indians and we Indian teachers are very strict with this. We strictly follow British system of language. Okay, language
Yes,
articulation.
ma'am.
Anyway, so I was talking that how could we perceive English in our future time, that I was telling you, and you can see that what I was actually trying to say is that we have got now different varied branches of English teaching and English learning, and if you are properly aware of these different streams, then you can easily grasp some profession. See, nowadays, like editing things were there, editing English for books. So editing work was also very much in vogue for people of English. Nowadays, you can see that writing subtitles has also become very important. So those web series and movies, they are coming day in and day out. So there are people who are earning in crores, as I have heard. They're earning in crores for translating those dialogues into subtitles. Okay, so that is also now very much materialistic. It gives a lot of materialistic gain also. If you go into those fields after you're very well versed with English language. Okay, so you cannot say that English learning will take you nowhere. You can never say that, because we can see that day after day this importance is increasing. Although what Macaulay had said was very confined, that we were uncivilized, we became civilized through their language. That is very much one sided. Okay, but now we see that we need English in order to improve our status, our material gain we could have if we are very well versed in English. Okay, so now we are very much profession oriented as far as English learning is concerned. Okay, that is the basic and very important part of learning English. Okay, and if you are very well versed in English, you'll be able to design variety of courses also. You can introduce many other professions or many other style of English language which can help different professions. Okay, you can design materials. Okay, you can produce new materials. You can produce materials which could be very much functional in training programs. Okay, you can introduce materials which can help in attitude development. Just see, just think of it. So many professions are there in English, through English, if you are serious about it. Okay, so personality development, attitude enhancement, uh, different skill based jobs are also will also get benefited if you introduce certain materials for them. Now, could you just feel how important it is nowadays if you are a student of English? Okay. Now, I cannot tell you in this class, you are too diverse, too vast, that only teaching will help. But English could be knowledge oriented. You can introduce knowledge oriented activities for your learners. Okay, you can skill development processes could also be introduced if you are trying to make certain differences in your society. Okay, and when it comes to teaching and learning in English, because English is always a second language for us, then you can use certain processes as a teacher. Okay, which means that you cannot consider yourself only as a giver. You are also simultaneously a receiver of the learning. You continue receiving learning, you continue giving your learning. This is what you are doing here. You are receiving here, you are listening, you are learning, and these experiences, these learnings will make up to your proficiency in your teaching career, if at all you are a teacher. Okay.
Ma'am, recently in a movie Donkey, we have seen how important English is.
But don't you think that at the same time they are ridiculing English?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Why it is important? What we poor people could do if we are not well versed? Why is there a monopoly of English language? So they are ridiculing also at the same way, trying to show the importance. but they're
Yes,
ridiculing.
ma'am. When
Uh,
they are trying to get a visa for India, are they have to know the Hindi language or any Indian language? That is also a question.
Yes. Now, if you want a job outside, you have to TEFL, no? You have to qualify TEFL job, TEFL interview. And that gives you a very
Yes.
challenging time for your English knowledge. Okay. So, why that? That is what they're saying. Why do you learn? But well, this is only English. No, suppose when you are going to, suppose Germany, then again you'll have to take a test here of German language. Okay, if you're going to Russia, then Russian language you have to take a test here, or you have to produce a certificate that you have learned. Okay, so they spoke only of English because the English has got worldwide monopoly. But if you're going outside for any other jobs, you need to have certain expertise in that language. Okay.
Now in Odisha also some schools have introduced French, German language as the third language in schools.
But in Utkal University, they have an international office, and in Utkal University, they give certificate courses, probably certificate courses for I think Russian, French, and some other languages. Okay, Utkal
Ma'am, I
University.
have learned French from Delhi University. I have done the diploma of French.
Oh, that's great. So you must be able to express and write in French, right?
Yes, ma'am.
But
Spanish
those
is also vastly used, ma'am.
which language? French.
Spanish, yeah,
Spanish.
Spanish.
But if you want to learn, then you can see in Utkal University, or if IGNU is also providing some international languages, you can see to that. But you need that only for if you want, if you're aspiring to go out of the country for your job or something. Okay. Now,
Mm.
so now, student learners, it is our responsibility to create that kind of atmosphere. Okay, I am now trying to create an atmosphere that if you learn English, you can develop your profession in different ways, in multiple ways. So it is our duty and responsibility to sensitize our students likewise. Okay, now for those learners, for you people, it is very important for you to equip yourself with proper functional language. Okay, as I can see, most of you are very fluent in English. You are answering so nicely. So this means that you are well equipped with the language. You don't feel nervous while speaking. Okay, so this is a very important thing that you must know. And if I should suggest you how to improve more, then I will ask you to read as much as you can. Nothing will benefit you as much as reading. Okay, so just read on. Go on reading books. I don't say only British literature, any English book. Nowadays, our Indian writers are also writing. Sudha Murthy writes so nicely. So read them. Her language is not that high class language, but very nice, very clear. Okay, so this is again one of the functions of English that we need to learn. Okay, uh, then when you are in your class, suppose you are a teacher, try to interact. We should have a transaction. I say something and then you are saying something. That will not only add variety to our teaching, but that will encourage our students to speak out also. So always be very interactive. And then yes, then nothing, I can conclude, nothing is as beneficial for you as reading. You go on reading. You suggest your people to read on, uh, and that will help enhance our thinking capacity. It will enhance our our understanding capacity. It will broaden our point of view. Okay, and also we will gain not only the structural and functional grammar, but also we will gain certain very minute aspects of literature. Okay, now with this I will end my class. Tomorrow I think I will start with you. You need block 4, I think, most probably, as far as I remember. Mm.
Tomorrow,
So
same time, six
yeah,
o'clock.
yes, tomorrow is our working day. So we will join tomorrow again at 6 o'clock. I think our timetable it is showing 6 o'clock. Just Let me check and let you know. Mm, tomorrow is 15th.
Yes, ma'am.
15, 15 6 o'clock, 6 to 8, same time.
Ma'am,
Okay.
same link.
Same link, same time. Okay. Now you may go offline. It's Sunday, so have a happy weekend evening.
Some hello.
Yes,
Thank you very much, ma'am.
thank you. Yes.
Anybody friends? Do you have any group?
Yeah, MEG mentor group. We will share the link.
Yes.
Okay, then I'm going offline. We'll meet tomorrow.
Ma'am, one how I
Thank
will
you,
get
madam.
the link?
Okay. Yes, somebody's asking something.
He
Any
would
doubt?
not give
Uh,
the fire to anybody else. He kept it all for himself.
Hello.
I don't know what is this going on. Okay. Yes,
Yes.
Nirmal.
In a field close to
Madam,
the
how I will get the link to
shore,
the group link? How will
there
get the?
lived a plain bird.
You must have got the mail.
There lived a plain bird who
Parthi,
said
kindly mute yourself.
he felt very
Yes.
cold, especially
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yes, Nirmal. You must have got a mail, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Hmm. So that same link, you can check the mail and click on that link. They must have shared you the link. As I
Okay,
have
madam.
got.
Okay, madam. I will check the email, ma'am.
Okay, fine.
Thank you.
Okay,
I
going
mean,
on.
check the box. I mean, the message box.
Okay, then I'm leaving. This information is for you all. I'm
Thank
leaving.
you. Thank you, madam.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
Hello, Debbadarshi sir. Hello, Debbadarshi sir.
Yes, yes. I'm trying to join the link, so I have not disconnected. Yes, if you have any question.
ଆପଣ ଫାଷ୍ଟରୁ ଥିଲେ କି କ୍ଲାସ୍ ଷ୍ଟାର୍ଟରୁ?
ନାଇଁ ମୁଁ ଆଜି ଡେରିରେ ଜଏନ୍ କଲି, so ଆସିବା ଟାଇମ୍ ଟିକେ ଡେରି ହେଇଗଲା, ତ ଡେରିରେ ଜଏନ୍ କଲି।
ଆଜ୍ଞା। ଆମର କୋଉ ଭଲ୍ୟୁମ୍
ମଝିରେ
ବୁକ୍ ର
ନେଟୱାର୍କ
ସେଥିପାଇଁ ଜାଣିପାରିଲିନି ତ।
ଆଜି ତ
ବୁକ୍ ର
ଇଂଲିଶ ଟିଚିଂ ଲାଙ୍ଗୁଏଜ ଉପରେ ପଢଉଥିଲେ ELT ଉପରେ।
ଆଜ୍ଞା।
ଏଇଟା ମେ ବି ଆପଣ ମାନେ ଫାଷ୍ଟ ଥିଲେ ସେମାନେ କହିପାରିବେ ବେଟର। ବଟ୍ କାଲି ଆଉ
ଆଜ୍ଞା
କାଲି ନେକ୍ସଟ ପଢେଇବେ 4 କହୁଛନ୍ତି। मॉड्यूल 4 तो लास्ट पार्ट है वो 3 ଆଉ ଏର ଆସିବ ଅଲଗା ତ ମ୍ୟାଡାମ ପଢଉ ନଥିବେ ମାଇ ଆଜମ୍ପସନ ଭେରିଫାଇ କରିବାକୁ ପଡିବ।
4 ଟା ପଢିବେ ବୁକ୍ 4।
ହଁ ହଁ କାଲି ପଢେଇବେ 4 କହୁଛନ୍ତି ମ୍ୟାଡାମ।
ଆଜ୍ଞା ଆଜ୍ଞା ଠିକ ଅଛି।
ଆଚ୍ଛା ଆପଣ ଏଇ ଯୋଉ ଗ୍ରୁପ ଗୁଡା ଦେଇଛନ୍ତି ଆମେ କାଲି ଯୋଉ ଗୋଟେ ରେଜିଷ୍ଟ୍ରେସନ କରିବାକୁ
କରିଥିଲି
ଗୋଟେ ଲିଙ୍କ ଥିଲା ସେଟାରେ
ଆଜ୍ଞା
ଆପ୍ଲାଏ କରିଥିଲୁ ଏଇଟା କଣ ତାଠୁ ଅଲଗା କି ନା ସେଇ ସମାନ ଟା?
ସେଇ ସମାନ ତ।
ନାଇଁ କାଲିଠୁ ସେଥିରେ ରିକ୍ୱେଷ୍ଟ ଗଲାଣି କି ଆକ୍ସେପ୍ଟ କରୁନାହାନ୍ତି।
ଆପଣ ଅଛନ୍ତି
ଆଡମିସନ
ତ
ବି
କାଲି ଥିଲେ ଗୋଟେ ଗ୍ରୁପ ଶୁଭଶ୍ରୀ ମ୍ୟାଡାମ ଆଡମିନ କରୁଥିଲେ ବୋଧେ।
ଗ୍ରୁପ ବନା ସେ ଗ୍ରୁପ
ଆପଣ
କହୁନି
ଅଛନ୍ତି
ନାଇଁ ମୁଁ
ଆଜ୍ଞା
କହୁଛି 26 ଜେନ୍ ମ୍ୟାଡାମ ଯୋଉ ଗୋଟେ ଆମର କଣ ମେଣ୍ଟର MEG-10.org ନା କଣ ଗୋଟେ ଲିଙ୍କ ଅଛି ସେ ଲିଙ୍କ ରେ
ଆଜ୍ଞା
ଆପଣ ଜଣେ ଜଏନ କଲେ ଆପଣ ଆଇଡି ପାସୱାର୍ଡ ଆଇଡି କାର୍ଡ ସବୁ ମାଗୁଥିଲା ସେ ସେଗୁଡା
ସେଇଟା ମୁଁ ଜାଣିନି ତ ଜାଣିନି ମୁଁ।
କାଲି ଯୋଉ କ୍ଲାସ ହବ ସେମ ଲିଙ୍କ ରେ ଅଫଲାଇନ ଆସିଛି ସେଇ
ହଁ
ଲିଙ୍କ ରେ
ସେମ
ନା
ଲିଙ୍କ ହବ ସେମ ଲିଙ୍କ ହବ
କ୍ଲାସ ହବ କାଲି କି?
ସେମ ଲିଙ୍କ ମ୍ୟାଡାମ।
ବଟ ସେଥିରେ ତ ଦିଟା ଦିନ ମେନସନ ହେଇଛି 13th and 14th ର।
ନାଇଁ ଆପଣଙ୍କୁ ଗୋଟେ ଟେକ୍ସଟ ମେସେଜ ଆସିଥିବ ଆପଣ ସେଇଟା
ହଁ
ଏଇ
ହଁ
ମ୍ୟାଡାମ ସେଇ
ଟେକ୍ସଟ ମେସେଜ କଥା ହିଁ ମୁଁ କହୁଛି ସେଇ ମେସେଜ ରେ କେବଳ 13th ଆଉ 14th କଥା ହିଁ ଲେଖା ହେଇଛି। ଯୋଉଟା କି ଅଲରେଡି ହେଇଗଲାଣି
ମ୍ୟାଡାମ
କାଲିର କ୍ଲାସ
ଆକ୍ଚୁଆଲି
ଆଉ
ଏ
ଆଜିର କ୍ଲାସ।
ଲିଙ୍କ ଟା ଯେତିକି ଆମର ଇଂଲିଶ କ୍ଲାସ ହଉଛି ସମସ୍ତଙ୍କ ପାଇଁ ସେମ ଲିଙ୍କ ୟୁଜ ହଉଛି। ଖାଲି ଆମର
ଆଚ୍ଛା
ଟାଇମିଂ ଡିଫରେଣ୍ଟ ଥାଉଛି ଗୋଟେ ହିଁ ଲିଙ୍କ ଦିଆହେଇଛି ଫର ହୋଲ MEG-1 to 14 15 all one link only. This is only one link used for all the classes but teachers are different and timing
ଆଚ୍ଛା
is different.
ଓକେ ବଟ ଯୋଉ ଆଗରୁ ହେଇଗଲାଣି କ୍ଲାସ ଗୁଡାକ ସେଇ
ସେମ
ଲିଙ୍କ
ସେମ
ମିଳିନଥିଲା
ଗୋଟେ
ତ
ହିଁ
କାଲି ପାଇଁ
ସେ
ହିଁ ଦିଟା
ଗୋଟେ
ମିଳିଛି।
ଲିଙ୍କ ହିଁ ସେ ଗୋଟେ ଲିଙ୍କ ହିଁ ସବୁ ହଉଛି। କାହିଁକି ମୁଁ ବି କନଫ୍ୟୁଜ ହଉଥିଲି ତାପରେ
ଆଚ୍ଛା ତ
ଦେଖିଲି ମୁଁ ସେ ଲିଙ୍କ ଟାକୁ ପଢି ଦେଖିଲା ବେଳକୁ ସେମ ଲିଙ୍କ ତାପରେ ଆମକୁ ଯୋଉ ଚାର୍ଟ ମିଳିଛି ସେଇଠି ବି ଦିଆହେଇଛି ପୁରା ଏଟ ଦି ଏଣ୍ଡ ଦିଆହେଇଛି ସବୁ MEG-1 to 15
ହଁ
ଗୋଟେ
ହଁ
ଲିଙ୍କ
ହଁ
ହିଁ ମେନସନ କରାହେଇଛି ସେଇଠି।
ଆଚ୍ଛା ଯୋଉଟା ମେଲ କୁ ଆସେ ସେଟା କଥା କହୁଛନ୍ତି କି ଆପଣ?
ସେ ଗୋଟେ ଲିଙ୍କ ହିଁ ୟୁଜ ଫର ଏଭରିଥିଙ୍ଗ।
ଆଚ୍ଛା ଆଚ୍ଛା ମାନେ ମୁଁ ପଚାରୁଥିଲି ଯୋଉ ଆମକୁ ମେଲ କୁ ଆସିଛି ଯୋଉ ଲିଙ୍କ ଟା ପୁଣି ଟେକ୍ସଟ ମେସେଜ ଆମକୁ
ହଁ
କରାହେଇଛି ଅଫଲାଇନ ରେ ସେମ ଲିଙ୍କ ନା?
ହଁ ଅଫଲାଇନ ରେ ବି ଆସୁଛି ଆମକୁ ଇମେଲ ରେ ବି ଆସୁଛି
ହଁ ହଁ
ଆଉ ଆମକୁ ଇମେଲ ରୁ ଡାଉନଲୋଡ କରିବା ପାଇଁ ମାନେ କ୍ଲାसेସ୍ ଆଉ ଟିଚର ମାନଙ୍କ
ହଁ
ନାଁ
ହଁ
ସହିତ
ହଁ
ବି
ହଁ
ଆସିଛି।
ହଁ
ସେଇଠି
ସେଇଟା
ସେ
ତାର
ଗୋଟେ
ଗୋଟେ
ଲିଙ୍କ ହିଁ
ପିଡିଏଫ ଗୋଟେ
ଦିଆହେଇଛି
ଥିଲା।
ସେ ଗୋଟେ
ଆଚ୍ଛା
ହିଁ ଲିଙ୍କ ଅଛି ମ୍ୟାଡାମ। ଆକ୍ଚୁଆଲି ମୁଁ ବି କନଫ୍ୟୁଜ ହଉଥିଲି କଣ ଡିଫରେଣ୍ଟ ସବୁ ଟିଚର ମାନଙ୍କର ନାଁ ସହିତ ମାନେ ଟାଇମିଂ ଦିଆ ହେଇଛି ଡିଫରେଣ୍ଟ ଟାଇମିଂ ତ ମୁଁ ଦେଖିଲି ମୁଁ ଜଷ୍ଟ ଟ୍ରାଏ କଲି ସେମ ଲିଙ୍କ ଗୋଟେ ଲିଙ୍କ ହିଁ
ଆଚ୍ଛା
ସେଇଠି ଆପଣ ଲିଙ୍କ ରୁ
ମାନେ ଆଉ କୋଉ
ପଢିବେ।
କ୍ଲାସ ପାଇଁ ମଧ୍ୟ ସେଇ ଲିଙ୍କ ଉପରେ କ୍ଲିକ କରିକି ଟ୍ରାଏ କରୁଛନ୍ତି?
ହଁ ମୁଁ ସେଇଟା ଦେଖିଲି ସେ ସମସ୍ତଙ୍କ ପାଇଁ ଗୋଟେ ଲିଙ୍କ ଦିଆହେଇଛି।
ଆଚ୍ଛା ତାହେଲେ ଆପଣ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଟ୍ରାଏ କରିଥିଲେ ସେଟା ଆଉ କୋଉ MEG ପାଇଁ ହେଇଥିବ ଆଉ କୋଉ ସାର୍ ଥିବେ?
ଅନ୍ୟ କୋଉ ସାର୍ ଯେକୌଣସି ଯୋଉ ଅନ୍ୟ ସାର୍ ମାନେ ଥିଲେ ବି ମାନେ ଯଦି ସେମାନେ ଗୋଟେ ଗ୍ରୁପ କ୍ରିଏଟ କରିଥାଉଛନ୍ତି ବୋଲି ଆକା ଏଣ୍ଟ୍ରି
ଆଚ୍ଛା
କରାଉଛନ୍ତି ନହେଲେ ନାହିଁ। ଏବେ
କୋଉଠି ଗ୍ରୁପ
MEG-1
କ୍ରିଏଟ
ସେମାନେ ଗୋଟେ ହ୍ୱାଟ୍ସଆପ୍ ଗ୍ରୁପ ଗୋଟେ କ୍ରିଏଟ କରିଥାଉଛନ୍ତି ଯୋଉଟା ମାନେ ଗୁଗୁଲ ମିଟ ରେ ଜଏନ ହେବା ପାଇଁ ସେମିତି ହେଇକି ସେମାନେ ଆଲାଉ କରୁନଥିଲେ।
ହଁ ହଁ।
ମାନେ 5 minutes before they were giving an
ତ ଏବେ
instruction
ଆମ ପାଇଁ
saying that those who are not going to join before that you will not like that. I had troubled in the MEG-5. I was little late. There was
ହଁ
network
ସେଇ
issue
ସେମ
was
କଥା
there.
ଶୁଣୁନାହାନ୍ତି ଏବେ
ହଁ
ଆମେ ଏବେ ଡିସକସନ କରୁଛନ୍ତି MEG-10 କଥା ତା ବିଫୋର 5 ଆଉ 7 ପଳେଇ ଗଲାଣି ଆମେ ମିସ୍ କରୁଛନ୍ତି।
ହଁ ମୁଁ ବି କେତେଟା କ୍ଲାସ ମିସ୍ କରିଛି ନା
ଆକ୍ଚୁଆଲି
ସେଥିପାଇଁ।
ଆପଣଙ୍କ କଥା ମୁଁ ଜାଣିନି କିନ୍ତୁ ମୁଁ ମିସ୍ କରିଛି ମୁଁ କାଲି ହିଁ ଷ୍ଟାର୍ଟ କଲି ତ
ଓହୋ
କରି ଲାଗୁଛି।
ନାଇଁ ସବୁ ପାଇଁ ଗୋଟେ ହିଁ ଲିଙ୍କ। ଆପଣ ଟ୍ରାଏ କରନ୍ତୁ ଦେଖିବେ ଆପଣ ଯୋଉ ଯୋଉ ସବଜେକ୍ଟ ନେଇଛନ୍ତି ସେଇ ହିସାବରେ ସେ ଗୋଟେ ଲିଙ୍କ ରେ ଟାଇମିଂ ଦେଖିବେ ସେଇ ହିସାବରେ ଜଏନ ହେଇଯାଅ।
ଆଚ୍ଛା ସେମାନେ ଜଏନ କରିବେ ନା ଆପଣ ଯେମିତି କହୁଥିଲେ କଣ
ହଁ
ହ୍ୱାଟ୍ସଆପ
ନାଇଁ
ଗ୍ରୁପ
ନାଇଁ ସେ
କଥା।
MEG-5 ରେ ସେମାନେ ଗୋଟେ ଗ୍ରୁପ କ୍ରିଏଟ କରିଥିଲେ ଟିକେ ଟ୍ରାଭେଲ କରୁଥିଲେ। ନହେଲେ କିଛି ସେମିତି ନଥିଲା। ଅନ୍ୟ ମୁଁ ଇଭେନ MEG-7 ରେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଜଏନ ହେଲି ସେ ଟିକେ ସେମିତି କିଛି ଗ୍ରୁପ ନଥିଲା ସେ ଗୋଟେ ମାତ୍ର MEG 5 ପାଇଁ ଟିକେ ଟ୍ରାବୁଲ ହେଇଥିଲା ସେଥିରେ ନରସିଂହ ସାର୍ କ୍ଲାସ ନେଉଥିଲେ ଆଉ ନରସିଂହ ସାର୍ ଙ୍କୁ ନେଇକି ଗୋଟେ ଗ୍ରୁପ କ୍ରିଏଟ ହେଇଥିଲା।
ଇଏ
ଆଉ
ଯୋଉ
ସେଇଠି ସବୁ
ମ୍ୟାଡାମ ଏବେ
ମେସେଜ
କ୍ଲାସ
ଛାଡୁ
କରୁଥିଲେ ସେ କୋଉଠିର ମାନେ ଆମ ଓଡିଶାର କି?
ଓଡିଆ ଲୋକ
ତ
ଯେତିକି ମୁଁ ଦେଖିଲି 3 ଜଣ ଟିଚର ପଢେଇଲେ ଜଣେ ନରସିଂହ ସାର୍ ଆଉ ଜଣେ ସାରଙ୍କ ସେ ନା ଭୁଲିଗଲି ତାଙ୍କେ ଆଉ ଏ ମ୍ୟାଡାମ 3 ଜଣ ଯାକ ଓଡିଆ। କାଇଁ
ଆଚ୍ଛା
ବାହାର
ଆଚ୍ଛା।
କିଏ ତ ନାହାନ୍ତି ସବୁ ଓଡିଶାର।
ତାହେଲେ ଶୁଣୁନାହାନ୍ତି ଆମେ ଅବଶ୍ୟ ଇଣ୍ଟରନ୍ୟାସନାଲ ୟୁନିଭରସିଟିରେ ପଢୁଛନ୍ତି ଡେଲି ୟୁନିଭରସିଟି ତଥାପି
ହୁଁ
ଆମକୁ ଯେହେତୁ ଆମେ ଓଡିଶା ନା ଓଡିଶା ଲୋକ
ହୁଁ
ତ ଆମକୁ ଗୋଟେ ଓଡିଆ ଟିଚର ଦିଆଯାଇଥିବ ଏମିତି ହେଇଥିବ ନା।
ସେମିତି ନାଇଁ ଯୋଉମାନେ ଆପ୍ଲାଏ କରୁଛନ୍ତି ଇଗ୍ନୋରେ ଟିଚିଂ କରିବା ପାଇଁ ତାଙ୍କର
ଆଚ୍ଛା
ପ୍ରଫେସନ ସହିତ ଅନ୍ୟ କଣ ମାନେ ଡବଲ ୱାର୍କ ପାଇଁ ତ ସେମାନେ ଜଏନ୍ ହଉଛନ୍ତି ନହେଲେ କାହିଁ ଯିବେ।
ଓ ଆଚ୍ଛା ଆଚ୍ଛା
That is
ଏମିତି
their
କି?
choice. Their
ଅ
choice. They have to apply for it.
ହଁ।
Hmm.
You are a student also?
They are doing dual work, na? They are one way they are already they are professors from different colleges, and they have been
Uh-huh.
recruited for this. It's not
I'm
like
asking you are a student or you are also a student?
no. I'm teaching.
What?
I am teaching.
ଆପଣ ଜଣେ ଆଚ୍ଛା ଆପଣ ମାନେ ଏଠି ଇଗ୍ନୋର ହିଁ ପଢୁଛନ୍ତି?
ନାଇଁ ଇଗ୍ନୋରେ ନାହିଁ
ଆଉ
ମୁଁ
ଆଉ
ଇଗ୍ନୋରେ ପଢୁନି। ଅନ୍ୟ
ସେଟା ମୁଁ
ସ୍କୁଲରେ
ପଚାରିଲି
ପଢଉଛି।
ଇଗ୍ନୋର ଷ୍ଟୁଡେଣ୍ଟ କି ଆପଣ ବୋଲି ମୁଁ ସେଇଟା
No,
ପଚାରୁଛି।
Ignore student,
ହଁ ହଁ
but
ଯେ ପ୍ରଫେସନ ତମେ କହିଲେ ମାନେ
ହଁ
ପ୍ରଫେସନ ଟା କଥା କହିଲେ।
ହଁ
ଆଚ୍ଛା ଠିକ ଅଛି।
ଆମକୁ ବି ଟାଇମ
ହଉ
ମିଳୁନି ମ୍ୟାଡାମ ଆମେ କେତେବେଳେ ଜଏନ ହଉଛୁ କେତେବେଳେ କଣ ହଉଛୁ ଆମକୁ ଟାଇମ ମିଳୁନି। କ୍ଲାସେସ୍
ଆଉ ଦି ଜଣ ଯେ ବଡ ସୁନ୍ଦର ପ୍ରଶ୍ନ ପଚାରୁଥିଲେ ତାଙ୍କୁ ତାଙ୍କ ଆନ୍ସର ମଧ୍ୟ ମିଳିଲା। ସେମାନେ ବହୁତ ଏଫର୍ଟ କରୁଛନ୍ତି ନା।
ହଁ ସେମାନେ ବହୁତ
ଥ୍ୟାଙ୍କ ୟୁ।
ତାଙ୍କୁ ମାନେ ଏମାନେ ଏକ୍ସପିରିଏନ୍ସ ଥାଇକି କରୁଛନ୍ତି ନା। ନହେଲେ ଏତେ ସହଜରେ ଏଇଠୁ ସେଇଠୁ ତାଙ୍କେ ଗୁଡାଏ ଜିନିଷ ତାଙ୍କ କନେକ୍ଟିଭିଟି ଆଣୁଛନ୍ତି ଏତେ ସହଜରେ ଆଣିବେନି।
I'm not asking about the professors. I'm asking about the students who those are asking
Students,
more questions.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.